David, what's been going on with you outside of school?
So I found that since the program and the time, like not necessarily immediately after it, but as a progressive process after the program, I've found that I've become more confident in myself and focused more on myself and like improving myself instead of worrying about what others around me are doing. So whether that be like in the classroom or in the gym or anywhere really, just instead of worrying about how can I, instead of comparing yourself to those around you, you sort of compare yourself to how you were previously and work on like surpassing yourself. And I found that that's been much more effective because you get much more progress that way, and it's much more fulfilling as well, and just overall a much better experience when you're trying to improve. And I think what's important to note about these changes or about this program is that it's not like, as you mentioned, it's not like we necessarily specifically learned to not like how to do this, but like you mentioned, we were sort of rewired, like have a I think you said at one point that it was like changing our operating system.
Sure. Yeah, I'll explain that in a sec. But
okay,
yeah,
perfect. Yeah. Whereas it's like it's not that we were necessarily given some new information that we didn't have before. It was just that we sort of, at least personally, I sort of developed like an intuition of what would be a good choice for me to make that aligns with my goals and who I want to be, as opposed to sort of just guessing a way around it. It felt like it sort of added a bit of a cohesion in terms of decisions, and almost a bit of like a guiding sort of, can't quite find the right word for it, but almost like a cohesive path that you kind of intuitively want to follow.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So I think what you're describing is we make decisions all over the place about so many different things, right? Like here's my friends, here's school, here's my family, here's health, and anything that you can think of. We're making these isolated decisions all the time, and what I think you're describing is instead of reaching in so many different directions, everything's moving in one direction for you. And have you guys been finding that too? That you're just making decisions like that instead of like that, right? And it's such an easier thing to do because you just keep moving in the same direction and everything matches up with who you want to be and what you want to achieve. So like you said, instead of comparing yourself to everyone else, you're just comparing yourself to who you want to be and maybe to who you were yesterday and try to just be a little bit better. And you mentioned it's more fulfilling, it's easier, and again, you're getting better results that way. I mean, what a great combination. So what that operating system is think of your life like a computer. So a computer's got an operating system, Windows or Mac or whatever it is, and it gets updated all the time. There's always new versions and new versions and new versions, and the reason is tech changes so quickly that you need to upgrade your operating system or you'll just fall way behind. Your apps won't run on an outdated operating system. So for your computer to perform at an optimal level, you need an optimal operating system. We've got operating systems too. It's how we think, it's how we make decisions, it's how we take actions, it's how we process feelings, it's all of these things. And our operating system is the same one we've always had. We've had it for thousands of years. And it's hardwired for mediocrity. It's hardwired to survive. It's hardwired to kind of be like everybody else. And what it's not wired for is really being great, really owning who you are and taking those chances and betting on yourself and becoming who you're capable of being. It's not hardwired to get better results easier and more fulfilling and less stressful. It's really wired to get the job done. It's like basic survival. And again, thousands of years ago, we needed that, but the world is changing just as quickly as tech is, and we're working with an outdated operating system. So all we're really doing with you guys is upgrading your operating system. So no, we don't specifically talk about how to study or how to work out or how to handle any of these situations really that you're dealing with. What we're doing is upgrading the system that lets you figure this out for yourself. And I think one of the most important reasons for that, not only is it hugely beneficial to you now, clearly in what's gone on in the last year, but where you're going next, because there are so many unknowns in the future. There's so many unknowns with jobs and tech and where the world's going, really even just in the next 5 or 10 years. And we can't just think the same way we've always been thinking and hope that we're going to adapt and not just survive, but actually thrive in those situations. So that's really kind of the nuts and bolts of that operating system.